we have a release date.
Release date, release date, release date, release date.
Did you hear me? Did you hear me? We have a release date. Sorry, too much? Sorry. March 31st, 2023. Mwah. That is the day when we get to see a new Scream movie, Scream 6, in theaters. If you're new to the channel, this is becoming a recurring thing that I do where I make a prediction bingo card for upcoming popular franchise films. Also, if you're new here, this is not where I typically film, but my next couple of videos might be filmed here. It's because I am traveling to Poland right now. I do consider myself kind of like a Mrs. Worldwide. Dale, you know what I'm saying? But the bingo card thing has been really fun. I did it for Scream 2022, and then I also just recently did it for Halloween Ends. And with Scream, I ended up being right about a good amount of things. There were some things I was way off base on, I'm not gonna lie. But some stuff was frighteningly accurate. So I'm also really excited to see what I'll be right about with Halloween Ends, and of course everything in this video. But I do it in the bingo card format because I feel like having 24 to 25 predictions is a solid amount. It allows me to get in a few really good juicy categories, and then you guys can print it or play with it however you want to, do whatever you like. So let me just kick off this video by sharing what I know about Scream 6 as of right now, as well as my philosophy going into these big franchise movies. My subs have heard this a million times, I'm sorry, but I don't watch trailers. I don't want to know anything going into a movie. I find that that helps to increase the shock value by like 200%. And I also generally end up loving the movie a lot more than if I had seen the theatrical trailer a bajillion times before going to the movie. Because then at that point, you just get too familiar with it and you know what to expect. And sometimes the trailer is way different to the movie, so it can build up your expectations to a certain place and then the movie doesn't go anywhere near that. I also now try to go in with no expectations. I see a lot of people who dislike movies on Letterboxd and they'll say something like, it was just not what I expected. So I think that trailers are partially to blame, but my question is like, why would you even build up a movie to be something in your head and then actually expect the movie to be said thing? Isn't it better if it subverts your expectations? Like, whatever, that's not my business. I want to clarify that I no longer go in with low expectations because I realized that at the very least, I should expect a good movie. If you're gonna spend millions of dollars to make the movie and then take my money when I go to see it, then just make a good movie. I don't think that that's that much to ask. I used to be like, go in with really low expectations, that way you can't be disappointed, but I've changed. And that is what we call character development. Along with that, as a disclaimer, I didn't do any research for today's video. I'm just a massive Scream fan who wants to have some fun today. So that is my philosophy, and now here is what I know about Scream 6 on the day that I am filming, which is March 23rd. Miss Courtney Cox, our lovely Gale Weathers, has signed on to return to Scream 6. And at this moment, nobody else has, and that being said, that is all I know right now. So let's discuss my categories of the predictions that I'll be making today. I want to make a couple predictions about who will be cast in the movie, as well as the title of the movie, because both are things that we don't know right now. Then I want to predict what the first act of the movie has in store for us. Where are our legacy characters at now? Who is going to be the opening kill? Then because it's Scream, we have to make some guesses about the meta commentary. What will the central theme of the movie be now that they've covered commentary on slashers, sequels, trilogies, reboots, remakes, requels? Along with that, of course, we will touch on what's going on with the Stab universe, the movie franchise within the movie franchise. I'm sure that I'll have a couple more miscellaneous predictions scattered throughout, but the last few categories to cover are who is surviving, who is Ghostface, and what is their motivation. Let's get into it. First up, the title. I don't think that we're going back to numbers. Numbers are tired. Boo. Stinky. I've joked around that they should call it Scream Kills, but that's stupid and that doesn't even deserve a place on this bingo card. I've heard a lot of recommendations about the title from my audience, and some of them are really good, but I'm gonna go with my gut today with simplicity. I think that the title of Scream 6 will simply be Screams. It's easy, rolls off the tongue, plus you could turn the S at the end of Screams into a little 6 if you fancy. That's the only slot of the bingo card I'm gonna use for the title because there are much more juicy things to get into. So let's move on to some casting predictions. We know that Gale is returning, but we don't know about anybody else. We actually don't even know who is in talks to star in the movie yet, but I think that we can safely say that all of our faves from Scream 5 will be returning. Sam, Tara, Mindy, Chad, even Martha, you betcha. And honestly, if Courtney Cox is returning, then I definitely see Neve Campbell returning as well. So we can throw that up on the bingo card, the return of all our faves. But I have another casting prediction, and I'll kind of have more as we get into the later details of the plot, but I don't want to give that away just yet. So the only other prediction that I have for casting is that I think that Samara Weaving will be seen in Scream 6. I have no idea who the other newcomers could be. It could honestly be anybody. Like, they introduced a ton of new faces to Scream 5. But if you aren't aware of Miss Samara Weaving somehow, she is like the queen of dark comedies. Mayhem, The Babysitter movies on Netflix, and my personal favorite, one of my favorite horror movies of all time, tied only to The Ring. Ready or Not. Oh my god, she kicks the most ass. Okay, I can't get into that right now. And this movie was directed by Matt Bettinelli-Olpin and Tyler Gillette, who also directed Scream 22 and are slated to direct Scream 6. So for our third slot on the bingo card, I would say that it's written in the stars that they will cast Samara Weaving for Scream 6. Now there is a chance that they'll cast her for the opening kill. This is true. I would now consider myself to be a pretty big fan of these directors, and I'm obviously a huge fan of Samara Weaving, so people such as myself would be very shocked if they cast her only to take her out in the opening scene. So she could be the opening kill, but I also have a ton of other predictions for the opening scene because it could be anybody. Well, no, there's one person that it absolutely could not be, but more on that later. Here are the people that I think are most likely to be taken out during the opening scene. Now, this one hurts to admit, but Gail could die in the cold open. Here is my reasoning. Gail Weathers, where does she end up in Scream 2022? Her best friend slash ex-husband of like a decade was brutally murdered, and so a piece of her soul is probably eternally shattered. She also said in the last movie, those assholes can die in anonymity. She's not writing any more books. That part of her function has ceased. And I know I'm kind of jumping the gun, but this might inspire a killer to be like, she's not writing any more books, so maybe if I kill the woman that made the killers famous, then I will become the famous killer. I also need to clarify quickly why I don't think that it will be Sydney. Not that a Ghostface would really care, but Sydney has kids now, she has a husband, she doesn't even live in Woodsboro. To be fair, neither does Gail, but she's a famous news anchor, so it wouldn't be that hard to figure out where she works. A Ghostface could easily fake some receipts, get a job as an intern, or even as like a janitor or something, and we could have a whole opening in the news studio. You could make that really creepy. Like, imagine that Gail is the only one there after everybody has left. Her demeanor is down. She's just reported on like the 5th climate disaster of the week. She's maybe looking at a picture of Dewey framed on her desk. She's the last one in the studio because at the end of the day, she has to go home, which is one of the last places that she shared with Dewey, and it only reminds her that he's gone. The phone rings at the desk. She answers the phone. The lights in the studio go down. We then have an awesome showdown in the labyrinth of production offices, and maybe her body is like majestically but grotesquely put on display. It's the biggest story of the month, etc., gets everybody's attention. Ghostface starts going after everybody else. So moving on to why I think that Samara Weaving could be the opening kill. I think it's pretty obvious she is a Scream queen. It would be a Casey Becker kind of a moment, like it was really hard to watch Drew Barrymore die in the cold open. That would be like the simplest of choices for the opening scene, and I don't think that they're gonna pull a Jenna Ortega, Tara kind of moment and let the opening person live. That felt like a one-off Scream 2022 kind of a moment because they were luring Sam back to Woodsboro. My third, and not even my last prediction for the opening kill, it's another painful one, admittedly. Kirby returns to be the opening kill. Let's think about it, folks. Usually the opening of a Scream movie provides some of the best commentary of the entire movie until the horror nerd gets their one scene. So what if they combine that? Mindy is the only other one that could serve this function, but I do not see Mindy as the opening kill. So what other character could provide the kind of commentary that we want to see not only as horror fans but as Scream fans than from Kirby herself? Tara was a great opening in Scream 5. She made good commentary on elevated horror, but they're not gonna do that to the same girly twice. Gail would also provide really good commentary because she runs this franchise. She's a very seasoned final girl. Samara Weaving could give good commentary on dark comedies if they chose to go that route. But Kirby? She could do anything, and she'd be the best at it. Now, this is my fourth and final prediction for the opening kill before we move on to our next category. Martha Meeks, I actually kind of see as maybe the most obvious choice besides Gale. She has the closest connection to the rest of the legacy characters as far as I can tell, especially with the Meeks twins because she's their mom. I also feel kind of bad saying it, but she's like the least consequential legacy character. I think that's why we lost Judy in Scream 5. Because if she goes, it still leaves a lot of room for our favorite legacy characters to, you know, develop their stories and have good arcs. Now moving on, but hold that thought because I am gonna come right back to it. Let's move on to where our other legacy characters have ended up. So Tara, Sam, Mindy, Chad. I'm not sure that our legacy characters are still gonna be in high school. Obviously Sam is not. So it would be a really fun callback to Scream 2 if Tara, Mindy, and Chad are now in college and that's where the movie takes place. The room for callbacks to Scream 2 are limitless, but this would be an appropriate place for the characters to start because remember how I had you hold on to that thought? What if the murder of a legacy character draws back the other legacy characters to Woodsboro for a funeral? So that's the reason why we end up back in Woodsboro. It's for a funeral. We've never had a funeral in Scream. Usually the events of each movie take place over the course of like a day or a couple days, so there's never time for that. This could really only happen if Martha or Gale are killed. Martha is the mom of the twins. Obviously all their best friends would come back to town to like be a support system for them. Also in that case, I hope that we get to meet the twins' dad, but honestly the best funeral scenario would be for Gale. In Scream 5, we did get a moment to grieve Dewey because we got to see Gale's whole reaction. She had a nice moment with Sydney in the hospital, and that was why Sydney came back to Woodsboro. If she had a funeral, it would be for all of the fans too, not just the characters of the movie. I don't think that Kirby would have the same kind of pull, and obviously Samara Weaving wouldn't either because she would be some kind of new character. Plus, in this case, maybe we would get to see Sydney's family, including Mark. Yes, I think that they might finally bring back Patrick Dempsey to give us all the cameo that us Scream fans deserve. Now shifting directions, the funeral could also bring out Kirby. Now that my prediction of Kirby being alive from my last predictions video came true, I must now predict that her character will make a return and not just as the opening kill. That was a little bit different. Now I'm saying that she will actually be an active participant in the plot. I think the reason why she would come back to be a protagonist is that she saw that Dewey was killed and now with Gale gone too, she would want to like band together with the younger legacy characters to make sure that she's not next. Plus, I just really want to see a Kirby-Mindy crossover. You know what? Fuck it. Kirby-Mindy power duo scene. I honestly have no idea if Hayden Panettiere is down to come back to this franchise, but I guess we'll find out soon enough. They'll have to nail down the cast pretty soon in the next few months before they start filming in summer in Canada, I believe. Now we're gonna start making some guesses about the Scream 6 commentary. What are they gonna do now that basically every type of horror movie has been covered? Well, now that they've done the whole sequel, reboot, remake, all of that commentary, maybe now they'll start diving into the particular subgenres of horror or specific tropes of horror. For the bingo card, I'm gonna say that Scream 6 will make commentary on a specific subgenre of horror. They already did this a little bit in Scream 5 by making commentary on elevated horror. Like I said earlier too, Samara Weaving would be the perfect girl to give us commentary on dark comedies. I would also kind of love if Scream 6 called out our enjoyment of watching teenagers be murdered, or the way that we laugh when Dewey keeps shooting Roman in the chest instead of taking him out by shooting him in the head, or the fact that Sydney has now been stabbed at least twice in the stomach and miraculously her guts are still inside her body, and Gale has been shot so many times now. It's a little bit absurd, isn't it? I wouldn't be mad if they started to call out the absurdity. You also saw this a little bit in Scream 5 as well, where Sydney is like, this is the most derivative one yet, you're even in the same house. Also in the third act, Sydney and Gale are like, are you ready for this? No, but like, when are we ever?
You ready for this? Never.
Like, let's just get this over with. Or even in Scream 3, when Roman is just rambling on to Sydney and she's like, I've heard this all before, can you just give it up? Now this next one, I've told my subs about this already a few times, but too bad you're gonna hear it again. I want there to be a final girls support group. Now let me explain this juicy idea. I think that they should go out and get some of our favorite final girls of all time and get them in the same room. I don't care how much it costs. I want to see some or all of these faces. Jamie Lee Curtis, Sigourney Weaver, Heather Langenkamp, Jennifer Tilly, really? Fuck it, even maybe like Bruce Campbell, throw him in there too. Now in the movie, they will also be actors, and I want there to be some kind of a play on Halloween. So Jamie Lee would say something like, yeah, I start as this girl Larnie in that old classic movie, The 31st. And when this huge investment opportunity comes knocking at my door and all of the fans are demanding that Larnie comes back, I mean, what choice do I have? I've been dragged back into this franchise. My knees and my back, they're shot to shit from all of the years of doing these stunts as stupid Larnie. So maybe there's just kind of like a brief round table moment where they're all going around and it's this final girls support group. And as it's going around, we then reveal that that is where Sydney or Gale or Kirby is. And that's how they're reintroduced to the movie. Because even though this is a group of celebrities and they're just movie stars talking about dealing with killers and stuff, it's kind of applicable. There's meta commentary. It's funny. So Sydney, Gale, Kirby, whoever, they would all definitely have a place there. Especially Gale, because she is a famous author and news anchor. And I'm just a sucker for some meta commentary about what it's like to be a final girl. Give me all of it. I never get enough. So throw that on. I want some final girl commentary, like a full-blown scene of it. I've been told that that idea is very similar to the premise of a book called The Final Girls Support Group, which now I absolutely have to read. Thanks for the tip, babes. But it's a scene that I don't even care if it's in Scream. I just want to see that someday while all of these final girl legends are still alive. But I do think that Scream is obviously the best franchise for something like that. And honestly, how else are they planning on topping some of the other stuff that they've done? I was really surprised that they were able to successfully up the stakes of Scream 5, and now they are burdened with the task of doing that again. That's why I'm really pushing for the introduction or the return of some of our favorite final girls. I have said repeatedly, just leave Gale and Sydney alone. I don't want them to come back anymore, but this would be a good reason for them to. And maybe all of those girls band together in the end to take out Ghostface. But bringing in our favorite girls would kind of be the way to service the fans, up the stakes, or, you know, bring in meta commentary about final girls, or all of the above. Now, I did also say that I would touch on what was going on with the Stab universe. I think that the Stab universe will be at a standstill because Gale Weathers didn't write another book. In the last movie, the franchise had gone off the rails, all the fans were kind of hating it at this point. They had strayed really far from the source material, and now there is simply no more source material left. Oh no, whatever will we do? Well, here is where we can bring back some Scream 3 vibes, some good old Hollywood vibes. Maybe at Gale's funeral, yes, we see her agent, the one that was responsible for getting her books adapted. And because it's been such a long dry spell and production companies were really hoping for another Gale Weathers book, plus audiences all hated Stab 8, boom, her agent was the one who killed her in the hopes of getting another deal. And maybe the agent is played by Samara Weaving. How fun would that be? Although I feel like with the ending of Scream 5, how they had the whole serial killer's daughter moment with Sam, there's something there. But sorry, more on that later. I'm gonna talk about my Ghostface predictions last. I know that the agent killing Gale was a lightweight Ghostface prediction, but it followed that train of thought nicely. So sue me for going out of order, but now let's talk about who is going to survive Scream 6. Sydney isn't dying. It's just not happening. You can't look me in the eyes and tell me that they're gonna bring back the most revered character of this franchise only to kill her off in the 6th installment. It's not happening.
You're gonna look at me and you're gonna tell me that I'm wrong? Am I wrong?
I thought that maybe they would in part 5 because it had been over a decade since the last movie, and maybe they would really finally change things up now that Wes Craven wasn't directing. But I'm telling you, it's just not gonna happen. And I am more Team Gale, but even I can admit that if we're gonna lose one of them, it's not gonna be Sydney. And we don't even know if Nev is gonna come back yet. I don't need her to personally, and what I'm hoping for most, honestly, is that Gale just has a cameo. But we'll see. Next up, it seems like Tara and Sam are gonna be the main girlies, but I am much more interested in the Meeks twins. Make Mindy the main character, you cowards. The Meeks twins will survive. They are not dying. Not on my fucking watch. The actress who plays Martha has even teased her return, and I feel like we will be seeing more of her than just the opening kill. I want more of Randy's family history. I want to know more about the Meeks in general. Maybe we could even get some commentary on why people love horror in the first place. Bring back some of the OG Scream vibes. Talk about the generational love of horror or something. Why does that happen? happen. My reasoning for wanting it to be more focused on the Meeks is twofold. Number one, I love them. And number two, I feel like we've kind of exhausted all of the family secrets that can be revealed between Sam and Tara. No offense, I don't really care that much about them anymore. And there's gotta be more to Mindy than just servicing the meta commentary. And like I said, I'm a little bit suspicious of Sam now because she showcased her abilities as a serial killer's daughter and she wore that shit like a badge of fucking honor. I don't trust her. Like, she's badass, but that whole business and then her delivering that line of dialogue has me questioning her. They could take that farther in Scream 6 and have Sam suffer a psychotic break because of the events of Scream 5. I don't love that idea, but I have to admit that it has some potential. Sam could become the new Ghostface if they continue to mess with plots revolving around psychosis. Or maybe it's just such a fervent need to protect Tara that she snaps and kills all the legacy characters before they snap and kill her and Tara first. There's also potential for Kirby to feel the same way and she could become the killer because she saw Dewey die, but I'm not even gonna throw that up on the bingo card because I don't want to see it. And also, we really don't know if Kirby is ever gonna return. Like, that could have just been a fan service moment in Scream 5 with no other tensions behind it when they revealed that she was alive. So who else do I think will not be Ghostface? This is kind of an important topic as well. I used to be on the Stu's return bandwagon. I actually did make a prediction like that in my last prediction video, but it's just not happening. Stu is not gonna return. It's been too long, there is too much missing canon. I know that some theories say that his parents paid hush money to whatever institution he snuck off to, and he's actually been conducting everything behind the scenes, but I'm not a believer anymore. I'm just such a Stu fan, so much love for the King Matthew Lillard that I didn't care the cost. I just wanted to see him back in another Scream movie. But now I think it would just mess everything up. I don't think that the risk is worth it. Although that being said, there is one legacy character that I would accept their return. Walk with me here, but Jill returns to exact her revenge. The original ending of Scream 4 was meant to keep her alive and have her go to jail. That was Wes's original vision. I know she went through hell and there isn't a super feasible way for her to have survived all of that, but she was never shot in the head. And it's like they always say, if you don't shoot them in the head, they come back. We still have the canon issue of, well, if she was alive, why didn't we hear more about her in Scream 5? I have a couple reasons. I think that for one, shame would keep her in the dark. She failed and she became infamously hated instead of loved as a final girl. And also being shot in the chest and being fried by a defibrillator, she would probably need like years of physical therapy. But now, after seeing some new blood take out one of the original trio, maybe this would inspire her again. Oh, wait. Oh, wow. They briefly mention her in Scream 5, but they don't even say if she's dead. They don't even say her name. So she is the exception to the rule. She is the only one that I could still suspend my disbelief if she came back. Randy is for sure dead too. Mickey, Mrs. Loomis, all of them, they're done. Now that I've mentioned Mrs. Loomis, Billy's whole family came back. His mom, his daughter, what about his father? His father is the reason why all of this happened in the first place. If he never slept with Maureen Prescott, Billy never would have killed her. He is the sleazy big bad behind everything. And I guess you could say Billy definitely got his murderous tendencies from his mother, see Scream 2. But even if he is not a killer, then I could see the return of Hank Loomis, Billy's father. He's never been shown at all in the Scream franchise. You could find any old grandpa and cast him. I mean, in sequels, everything that we know about the past usually changes, and maybe this means that we'll see more of Stu's family too. But at this point in the Scream franchise, they're making fan films, so whatever ends up happening, I think it will service us in some way. Now for my final prediction, I want to keep things simple. This is what I want to see most out of Ghostface. Whatever the motivation might be, legacy character turned rotten, a desperate agent, or another fame-hungry psychopath, I want there to be 3 Ghostface killers, something the franchise has never done before. And we've also never had 2 women be the Ghostfaces, so if they're gonna stick with the traditional 2 Ghostfaces instead of 3, then make them both women. Up the stakes, make an even more complicated dynamic between the killers. Have 2 new faces as the killers, and then in the 3rd act twist, have Jill be the mastermind behind it all. I don't know. Obviously, as a fan, I want to be serviced while also being subjected to something fresh and unpredictable. And with Scream 5, that was my major critique of the movie. I was not a fan of the Ghostface reveal, so I am looking for more from Scream 6. So, at the end of the day, there are a few things that I definitely want to see. Some of them are even mandatory, like do not pull a Randy with Mindy or so help me God. But for the most part, I kind of want to be wrong about everything because like I want to be surprised. All of these were just for fun, and when we get closer to the release date of like Halloween Ends and of course the new Scream, I won't be as active on Twitter because like I truly don't want to know what's going on. I probably won't even be that active in the next couple months because I don't even want to know who gets cast. I don't want to know about filming locations, none of that. They already have my money. I just want to be on a shocking wild ride when I see a new Scream movie in theaters next year. That being said, preferably without sharing any news that you've heard, what are some of your craziest predictions? And what are your reactions to any of the predictions that I've made? I don't care how outlandish your predictions are, I want to hear all of them. Honestly, the crazier the better. And remember to throw a like on the video so I know to keep making these prediction videos so I know that you enjoy them. Also be sure to click subscribe and the notification bell so that you don't miss the next one that comes out. As always, of course, I love my patrons. Thank you so much for your continued support. Mwah, 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 mwah. Tonight I am planning on filming some bonus content for you guys, so fingers crossed because we do have some weirdly noisy neighbors here, but hopefully you have that to look forward to soon. If you'd like to support me there and see some bonus content, that will be linked down below. Other than that, all the rest of my social media, my horror Instagram, travel Instagram, my vlog channel, gaming channel, all of that is linked down below. I hope that you enjoyed this video and I hope I catch you in the next one. Bye! Scream 6 release date, 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 Scream 6